SABC News presentation.
Good morning and welcome. You are watching A View from the House, coming to you live from Parliament in Cape Town. My name is Mathole Motshekga. In today's program, we look at Parliament's priorities for the third quarter and the rest of the year, and we talk to the Chief Whip of the Majority Party, Dr. Mathole Motshekga. We'll also be joined by the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Rural Development and Land Reform to talk about a critical piece of legislation that deals with spatial planning and land use management. We also have a debate in which MPs in the National Assembly paid tribute to former President Nelson Mandela. All of that coming up in today's program. Parliament's third quarter of this year's session is now in full swing. The two houses of Parliament are not sitting today, but committees from both the National Assembly and the NCOP will be deliberating on business of Parliament. To talk to us about priorities set out by the ruling party and about Parliament's agenda in the coming weeks and months as we approach the fourth and last quarter of the 2012 parliamentary session, we are now joined by the Chief Whip of the Majority Party, Dr. Mathole Motshekga. Good morning, sir, and welcome.
Good morning, Kokeli.
Dr. Motshekga, Parliament is in the third quarter, approaching the fourth and final quarter of the 2012 parliamentary session. What's your assessment? Have you achieved your goals thus far?
Parliament has indeed achieved its goals, but we have recognized ourselves that there are limitations due to the availability of resources. For instance, the Speaker of the House did acknowledge that we lack research capacity, and that has an impact on the quality of legislation that we produce. And that is a matter under consideration that we will address going forward. But in terms of the day-to-day running of Parliament, everything is running well. We are producing the necessary legislation, but of course, you'll know that Parliament is a terrain of struggle. Each political party seeks to prevail on various issues, and that's what makes political life exciting and interesting, and we're happy with that.
We will talk about that a little later. Let's look at the period ahead. What priorities have your party set out for the remaining period?
You see, our priority is informed by the fact that Parliament is a people's assembly, and we prioritize taking Parliament to the people and ensuring that the people are kept abreast of what is happening and that they participate. That's why, for instance, this month, our focus is on Women's Month and activities that accompany that month. And then in September, as you know, is Heritage Month. We'll also be focusing on that because we want to use these opportunities to reconnect with the people, to make sure that the people are aware that this is their Parliament. We are simply their delegates to this Parliament who must do and make sure that their interests are actualized.
But what is the scope of workload in terms of bills to be processed in the coming weeks and months?
You see, you will know that this period is committee month, and various committees have their programs, like the chairperson of the Rural Development Committee will be coming, and there are committees like Justice Committee dealing with the Superior Act Bill. There is also the question of the Traditional Courts Bill, the Information Bill. So Parliament is engaged with all that legislation, and they are registering good progress.
Dr. Motshekga, there is still a lot of unhappiness among opposition parties with regard to their oversight role over the executive, ministers not responding adequately to questions. As Chief Whip of the ruling party, how are you dealing with that challenge?
This matter has been raised, and it receives continuous attention. But there is some exaggeration by the opposition parties. Because you see, the duty of ministers is not to stay in Parliament 24 hours to answer questions. They have to run the country. And you can see that there are backlogs on service delivery. These ministers have got to be all over, but to the best of their ability, they are answering questions, but we are ensuring ourselves to make sure that there is no neglect of that duty, and will continue to do so.
But Dr. Motshekga, is there any progress in developing a working relationship between the ruling party and opposition parties?
It's not necessary to develop it. It is there, because I'm the chairperson of the Chief Whips Forum, where all the parties are represented. We meet every week. Every Wednesday we meet between 10 and 12. But you must distinguish between these relationships outside and inside Parliament, because we have observed a tendency by some parties to want to disrupt the work of Parliament. For instance, there's no meeting that can succeed unless there's a chairperson. But if you have leaders of political parties who don't respect the rulings of the presiding officers, and then Parliament would degenerate into chaos. So opposition parties must learn to understand and abide by the rules of Parliament.
Whilst you are on that point, it seems as if Parliament's image is being tarnished by the behavior of MPs from both the ruling party and opposition parties. That's at least the view expressed by Zaki Ahmad at the People's Power People's Parliament last night. What's your view?
I was there. I shared the platform with Zaki Ahmad. He only gave 2 examples of that. He said people are shouting at each other, for instance. He said that he doesn't know his MP. A lack of ignorance of his MP has nothing to do with the image of Parliament. And then people shouting at each other. We must specify that it is Honorable Lekota who shouts at the Speaker, and the ANC respond in defense of the Speaker, or in defense of order in Parliament. And it was Honorable Watson of the DA the other time, refusing to abide by the ruling of the Speaker. So it's unruliness on the side of the opposition that creates a bad image of Parliament. This Parliament is orderly.
Now that you mention Mr. Lekota, he has taken Parliament to court, challenging the Deputy Speaker's ruling to throw him out for apparently reflecting on the integrity of the President. How do you intend dealing with that as Chief Whip?
That is further evidence of Mr. Lekota's disrespect for the House. In the House of Parliament, there are rules, and the Speaker and Deputy Speakers are charged with the administration of those rules, and they must make rulings. Lekota doesn't accept the authority of the presiding officers, but he wants to be a member of Parliament. We can't have a Parliament without the presiding officer. Otherwise, that is anarchy. So I think Lekota needs a political education school.
But is it not within the rights of the opposition parties to raise concerns where they see weaknesses in the leadership of this country?
The opposition parties are members of the Chief Whips Forum. They must come to that forum. We must discuss those issues and resolve them. When we go to the House, we must conduct our business in a dignified manner, because the House doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the masses of South Africa who elected us.
Chief Whip, finally, briefly, the ruling party's Mangaung conference, is it likely to affect Parliament's program in the last and final quarter of this year?
It will not affect us, because we are deployed by the African National Congress to run the legislative part of government. And here, we don't run organizational programs. We run legislative programs. So we keep a separate position here, and that's why things are going well here. We have no problems, and then we also work under the oversight of the national leadership. There are no problems.
We're running things smoothly despite the allegation made by Zaki Ahmad that this Parliament is dysfunctional.
No, that was unfounded. In fact, he was answered. I'm surprised why it is not said what the response from the audience was. The audience did not agree with him.
What did the audience say?
the audience did not agree that Parliament is dysfunctional. There's a lady called Pumla who spoke at great lengths, indicating that when Lekota shouts on the speaker, that does not mean dysfunctionality of Parliament. It's the unruliness of Lekota. It has nothing to do with the image of Parliament.
Chief Whip of the African National Congress, Dr. Mathole Motshekga, thank you very much for coming through, sir. We appreciate your time. It's time for a commercial break. When we return, we talk to the Chairperson of Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Rural Development and Land Reform about the Spatial Planning and Land Use Management Bill. Don't go away.